All right, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Cornwall, and I'm with the Center for Entrepreneurship here at Belmont. I've been invited to host this series on entrepreneurship in the entertainment industry. It's been a great series, and we've had a lot of great speakers, and appreciate all of your coming out to hear these talks. We've been trying to bring in a variety of people with a variety of backgrounds, and I think today probably is going to continue that process, because our guest today, Fred Gill, has a very different path to where he's gotten to. Many of the people that we've had in so far were video people or songwriters or people who knew all along that's what they were going to do. Fred's background is a little bit different, and he'll talk more about that as we have our conversation here today. But his background is more purely from the entrepreneurship side. I got to know Fred because he went through the entrepreneurship program at Ball State University and was one of their star students. I guess you graduated probably about 12, 14, 15 years ago. Is that
Let's
close?
just say 97.
97,
We'll
wow.
let them figure out
All right.
the math.
All right.
And that's Ball State with a B.
Ball-
When I met you, I said, because you guys have Ball State down
Yeah.
here.
Ball State with
So-
a B, which is, I like to say, the second best entrepreneurship program in this part of the country. But Ball State is an excellent program, well known, been around forever. And for him to be identified as one of the superstars coming out of the program when he came through is a big deal. And he'll probably talk a little bit more about how they do things there. So Fred came out planning to be an entrepreneur and ended up having more and more involvement in the music industry over time. So why don't we kind of start out and just talk a little bit about your earlier entrepreneurship career. You went to Ball State, decided to study this stuff, and kind of what happened from there.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me.
Sure.
And thanks all you guys for coming. I grew up with an entrepreneurial, both grandfathers were entrepreneurs. My dad is an entrepreneur. My uncle is retired but an entrepreneur. So I had it really ran deep in my family to be a business owner. And I had the dream probably somewhere in high school to own and operate my own restaurant. And so I stumbled onto the entrepreneurship program at Ball State. And it's very interesting. Ball State, the reason that it caught my attention, because I grew up 45 minutes from IU. So IU is kind of a natural, a lot of people went to IU. But Ball State had a really good, at the time, and I'm sure they still do, but accessibility program. I was in the scooter and needed a little bit extra above and beyond accessibility. At that time, doors, doorways, bathrooms, there just wasn't the awareness of accessibility. I think the ADA had just kind of started to come into play.
Right.
And because I was a freshman 18 years ago.
You were
And,
6 years old at the time, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Karatko, we call him Dr. K, fondly, caught my attention at Ball State. Dr. K, my mentor, director of the program, founder of the program, has since moved on to the IU Kelly School of Business. But he caught my attention because I'd never heard about an entrepreneurship program. I didn't know there was such a thing. And it really was like, this is me. This is why I need to go to college. And so I went through the program, and I was the kid that was the freshman that was in, at the time it's called ACE, and which was an entrepreneurial club. But I was the kid that was like the only freshman in the club. The rest of them were juniors and seniors. But I was just really chomping at the bit to get every, I'm sure Dr. K was like wondering who this little freshman was zipping around his office in a scooter like every month, check it in. And when I didn't really even need to see him for 4 years. So I was that kind of tuned into the program and where I wanted to go.
Now, fast forward a bit. So,
Yeah.
in your senior year, you wrote your big project on the restaurant. Talk about that class and that experience.
Yeah, the entrepreneurship program at Ball State is unique, and Dr. K developed it purposely this way. And his father told him that if it wasn't a spine sweating experience, if the kids didn't wake up in the middle of the night and their spines were sweating, then he didn't do his job in putting them through the rigors of the real life entrepreneurship program.
Right.
Now that's not to say that programs that don't do that aren't great as well. But our spine sweating experience was that we spent the whole last semester of our senior year, so spring of our senior year, we got senioritis, and we're writing a business plan. And the plan had to be something that we didn't necessarily, it wasn't a business that we had to do or even commit to do, but something we were interested in enough that we could write a business plan on the business. And spent the whole semester writing the plan. And then there's still a board, and I sat on it for 5 years before I started this crazy business, the entertainment business. But a board of different well-known entrepreneurs in the Indianapolis, Indiana, and Indiana area. Even Chuck Schnatter, who's Papa John's brother, sits on it. Larry Sablowski was on my particular panel. He's one of the 4 founders of the Finish Line sporting apparel business. Other people like from Ernst & Young and CPAs and whatnot, you would have a 5 or 6 person panel and be in a conference room. And the Blue Cross Blue Shield started in Indianapolis,
Right.
and they don't. Mike Hauk, who I'm sure now is retired, was on our board, and he donated their boardrooms for us to present our plans to small panels of judges. And so we would go down a week, 2 weeks before graduation, we would turn in the plan. And then a week before graduation, on a Monday, you would go to Indianapolis and you would have 30 minutes to present your plan, and then anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes of questions and answers. Now, to remind you, we did 3 years full accounting statements, cash flow, balance sheet, income statement, and something else. But we didn't use. Peachtree was a seed at that time. We did an Excel. I did from the ground up 3 years of accounting statements from Excel from the ground up, and they were able to, they had to try to poke holes in it. And so we presented the plan. Now, here's where the spine sweating experience comes in. If the board, if your panel either didn't think that you wrote the plan, or you had major holes in your plan, meaning your balance statement didn't equal debit and credit, the
Right.
ledger didn't equal.
Right.
Then you didn't pass that class, and you did not graduate. So you had to make a phone call on Monday night and say, Mom and Dad, I'm not graduating college. A week before graduation. There were a few, I'll soften a little bit, a few spineless students that had a double major in management and entrepreneurship as kind of a backup
Right.
plan. But there were 16 of us in my program. One person elected not to even go and present, and 4 people failed. So out of 16, 11 of us passed the class and graduated.
And your plan was this restaurant.
My plan was a restaurant called.
Which you launched,
I
right?
did. And it was so real life that I don't want to call it cheating, but during Christmas break of that year, of my senior year, I actually had the restaurant purchase agreement locked in to buy a dive bar in my hometown, and I had financing in place, and had like a little mini business plan written, and had everything lined out so that I graduated March 10th, May 10th, and May 22nd I had the keys to the restaurant. We closed it down and did a massive renovation, and then reopened in late July.
And how'd that experience go?
It was fantastic. It was great. It was my dream eventually turned into a nightmare. But that's just the restaurant business in general. Don't want to scare any future restaurateurs in here, but definitely work in a restaurant for a couple of years from the ground, washing dishes on up before you decide to own one. Because, for me, it was sort of a blessing and a curse, because I didn't really have the ability to physically work in a restaurant. So the curse part of it is that I, like during high school or college, I didn't wait tables or wash dishes or anything to kind of get that experience. It was more what I could soak in. And the other part of that made it difficult is owning a restaurant. When certain people called in sick, I couldn't jump in and do the job. I had to rely on other people. So it created kind of a pitfall that I didn't, because the way my mind works is that there's not a whole lot that I can't do. But reality is there's a few limitations that cause me, not to be able to hop behind the bar and bartend, or wait tables, or actually I did do some things that I probably were a stretch, like by taking orders and doing certain things. But my main function in the restaurant, besides owning it, was being the maitre d'. I sat people, and the other part of owning a restaurant when you're in my unique physicality is that the restaurant was called Fred and Toby's. My brother's Toby, and so people came in expecting to see